What's happening, guys? Today I'm in the downtown LA on some shit store, and it's another Tech Thursday. And for today's installment, this guy, Tony Cat, and I will be showing you guys how to repair flats, how to fix tires that have sidewall blowouts, or how to salvage a tire that you thought was completely done. But there's a couple little things you can do that'll either get you out of a bind or at least give your tire a little more lifetime. So let me show you guys some of these ghetto techniques with this tire and wheel that we have right here. Alright, so seeing as we have a shop out here, we have a lot of spare tires and wheels that, kids leave behind. I think this hub is actually blown out, but even though it's blown out, it'll help for this tutorial. As you can see, we got a shadow tire here that is not too bad. Usually you can gauge a tire by either the sidewalls and the center pattern. Alright, so upon a further inspection, the tire isn't really that bad. I would say it has like another, well, if you're riding every single day, this tire can last you another like 2 to 3 weeks. But as we look closer, boom, we got a skid mark that left a pretty big hole right there. So as you can see, the inner tube is actually showing through, and that's gonna be the reason you're gonna get flats. Now, while this tire you really can't truly salvage, what you could do is a couple little fixes that'll get you out of a bind, while you're out street riding and you're stuck somewhere. So let me show you a couple of tricks that you can do to get yourself home. All right, so first and foremost, if you catch this before you actually get a flat, the first thing you want to do is remove the air. So, you want to use something sharp to get in there. You want to push down on this valve and get all the air out. For a lot of you, I would hope you already know how to, fix a flat. But for those of you guys that don't know how to fix a flat, I'll go through all the steps now. One thing to keep in mind is the more air you let out of the tube, the easier it will be to remove the tire. Alright, so what I usually like to do is I go on the opposite side of where the valve stem is, just so it's not in the way. And then what you want to do is kind of like squeeze the tire to where you can feel that the tube has very little air left in it. And then you can either use a tire lever, which I'll show you this way. So using a tire lever, all you have to do is kind of like use the little flat part of the tire lever, get it underneath the bead. And the bead would be this part that is a little taller than the rest of the tire, and that's what actually gets caught underneath the rim and doesn't allow the tire to rip off, and that's called a bead. So you want to get this tire lever on one side of the bead. You don't want to get both beads. You want to just get the one side. Then once it's lifted like this and you have a little lip forming, then all you have to do is kind of just slide the tire lever down. And if it's really tight, what you can do is once you have a lip formed, keep your thumb there, then go a little further down the tire and lift another part and get it up and over the rim. And as you can see, now that area has increased. You can go down a little further, get that underneath the bead again. And then once you have, I'm going to say like 1/8 of the tire off, then you can just once again put the lever underneath and just kind of slide it all the way through the tire until it's all completely out. One thing you want to be careful with is if you're not using a very smooth tire lever like this, if you use like a flathead screwdriver or anything else, you're going to actually pinch the tube and ruin it. So be very careful. Use something that's like dull. You want to use a tire lever, preferably a plastic one so this doesn't happen, or if you're going to use a metal one, use one that's pretty dull like this that can get underneath the bead pretty easily and just get it off. Now let me get it back on real quick and show you guys how to do it without the tire lever. And again, this is like you're stuck somewhere riding street and you don't have all these tools at your disposal, so I'm going to show you guys real quickly how to do it just using your hands and a little elbow grease. So again, it's going to be a similar technique to using a tire lever. You're going to want to find a spot that's actually the opposite of the valve stem, so I'll go about down here. Pick that spot, and then you're going to actually grab both sides. And then what you're going to try and do is using your hands, and especially your thumbs and your index finger, you're going to actually try and lift this up and over the rim. So again, you're going to grab the tire and the bead, and you're going to try and get it over the rim. So I've been doing this for a long time, so I can do it. I got some man strength to me. But for a lot of you guys, it might be a little more difficult. Again, this position that I'm holding the camera in isn't the most conducive to this. So let me switch on the other side. And you're going to just try and lift it up and over the rim. And what you can do too is just push the tire sideways so it kind of like starts wanting to naturally pull off. And then once you kind of get like the bead up and over, it's just like the other technique. If this is a brand new tire, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Also, if you have a higher sidewall rim, that's going to make it more difficult as well. Just keep pushing it over until you feel one of the sides is actually going to come up and over the rim. And if you look closely, without any tire lever, just using elbow grease in my hands, I've been able to get one side of the tire bead up and over the rim. Now it's time to keep pushing to get the other one. And then same thing, like now that you have it off a little bit, you want to move further down the tire. And then once you do that, then you can actually get your fingers under there and just undo the whole thing. Be careful when doing this, because if there's a thorn in your tire, or if you've actually ripped the tire and the bead is coming out, it will stab your finger. That doesn't feel very pleasant. So you want to lift it while sliding your hand underneath there, but be very slow and gentle about it. You don't want to get cut. All right, so got that off. And then once you get one side of the tire, then the rest is, again, using some elbow grease. You just kind of like use your hand, grab the tire, and lift it up and over the rim. The bead will just slide off, as you can see, and voila, we got the tire off. You just remove the actual tube. And that is done pretty easily by just pulling it out of the tire. Okay, so we got that up. And now you want to inspect the damage. So we're going to look around here. And again, the damage here is pretty severe. I can literally push my finger through it. So that tire is pretty much toast. But if you're trying to get home, this is something that might save you. So look around the street, anywhere, trash cans, whatever, and find a little piece of cardboard. Anything like this. You can either use cardboard, you can use like a really thin piece of like metal sometimes you can find. Honestly, I've even seen people use Snicker wrappers, so you can just fold it up a bunch of times until you get it to where it's like got some thickness to it. And all you have to do is just cut it or fold it into a piece that's gonna fit right underneath here. So let me show you by using this cardboard. All right, so I'm gonna cut a little piece here. This piece is about, I'm gonna say 2.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And I did that by using my thumb to measure this area. This piece of your thumb is usually about 1 inch. So yeah, 2.5 by 1.5 inches. And then all you really do is turn the tire over where the damage is, look on the inside, and you'll be able to see the actual hole. Place the piece of cardboard on the inside, and then you want to have a little bit of air pressure in the tube so it doesn't actually move. And one thing you can do too is usually the side with the valve stem, because the valve stem has a place where it's actually glued on there, it'll actually be stiffer there. So place that part where the valve stem is, where the cardboard now is. Then put the inner tube back in the tire. And again, very important, you don't want this piece to move. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your finger is where the piece of cardboard is, nice and centered. Make sure you put the valve stem there, as you can see. And now I'm literally holding the piece of cardboard here. I can feel where it is. And if you look closely, you might be able to see the cardboard through the tire. Then just place the tire on the rim. Get it all back on there. And again, I prefer using my hands for all of this, but you know, you can use a tire lever as well to put it on. Nothing against it. It's just I'm actually quicker just using my hands, but there's people that are a lot faster using the tire lever. So I'll show you the end of that using that technique. And all you have to do is put the tire lever, and this time you can actually do it underneath both sides of the bead. So as you can see, I have the tire lever through both sides of the bead of the tire, and I'm just gonna like kind of hoist it up and over the rim, and that'll get both sides on there pretty quickly. I just wiggle it out. And usually you'll get to a point where the other part of the tire gets on first, and you have the majority of that side on, and then you're just left with the last bit, which again, I usually use by hand, but you can do it with the tire lever. And there you go. Now we're just gonna pump it up. All right, so we'll get this nice and pumped up and see if it works. All right, so as you can see, the cardboard actually did its job. The tube isn't bulging there anymore, and this should be able to get you home. And like I said earlier, this isn't a full-time fix. It's just a temporary thing to get you out of a bind, but it'll work to get you home, and then after that, you can go and replace it. All right, so another thing that happens to tires besides actually getting holes on the top tread is getting a sidewall blowout. So as you can see here, we have a hole in this shadow tire where I can actually shove my whole finger through it. This actually didn't just happen. I actually grabbed a pair of scissors and stabbed it just to demonstrate what this could look like, because we didn't have any tires with a sidewall blowout. But you can do the same solution, which is using the piece of cardboard, placing under here, cutting it out, and then placing the tire back on, and that'll get you out of the bind. Another thing you can do is, if you have any tires laying around, you can actually cut these. And You can do quite a bit of different things with this. Keep in mind that there's this metal bead that goes on the inside of the tire. So when you're cutting tires, you actually want to cut on the sidewall first, because usually that's the thinnest part, and then you can use the tread to, you know, patch your tires. So be very careful when using scissors and all this other stuff. Preferably if you're not 18 or at least 17, you know, don't do this by yourself. Have a parent help you or something. But initially, again, you just want to stab the sidewall, get the scissors, and then start cutting away at the tread that you're going to need. And the tread is usually thicker, so like I said, cut this piece here. You can be a little sloppy with it. Just cut this piece out. You can actually just pick the tread you want and go across. And then again, come to the side with the sidewall. That'll be easier to cut just because it's really thin. And let's say you're gonna actually repair the top piece again, where I replace it with cardboard. So this portion here. So you can actually cut a piece that's actually gonna cover a good amount of that area. And there you go. You got a nice 3" by 3" almost like perfect square here, something around there. And this will be actually easier because since it follows a similar size and shape to the tire, you can literally just get it underneath the tube and place it right where that spot was, and then inflate it again. Or if you're just going to be repairing the sidewall blowout, you can actually cut it in half again. So cut it down here. Keep in mind when cutting the top tread, it's a lot harder because it's supposed to be thicker, you know? And there you go. When it comes to this, don't worry about overkill. You actually want more surface area being protected than less. So yeah, this piece will do fine. Put her back in here and just patch her up. The last thing I want to show you guys. Alright, so let's say you have an old inner tube that has a flat in it. What you can do is literally just cut the valve stem off. Oh man, just ruined my shirt. This stuff had that green slime in it. So avoid using anything with slime. I hate it. And then get your tire. Got a nice little animal tire here. And then place the inner tube just like you would a regular tube on the inside of the tire. And then all you have to do is place your good tube over it. And what that'll do is it'll act like a little thorn resistant shield. And yeah, it's a little heavy and whatnot, but again, if you're going through an area that's really full of thorns and stuff like that and you need a quick fix, both the cardboard, the tire, or even just a tube lining the outside of the inner tube and protecting your tube from thorns or anything like that really does help. Yep, so that slime really did ruin my new TCU shirt. So that sucks, but you know, it is what it is. And now I'm getting blown up by the sun. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Again, this tutorial was meant to get you out of a quick bind. You know, you're stuck at a street spot or a skate park. You don't really know how to get home because you pedaled there. So again, you can use a piece of cardboard. You can use an aluminum can. That actually works. Just be careful. The aluminum can get very sharp, so I don't want you guys getting cut at home. You can use a Snickers or a Skittles wrapper or anything like that that'll just, you fold over enough times so where you have like a little protective layer for the tube wherever the hole is in the tire. And that'll get you home, you know? I've had to do this many times back in my day, and you know, it's something I picked up along the way, and hopefully it's something that's gonna get you out of a bind. So that's gonna do it for me today. And once again, I really appreciate you guys all checking out my videos. And if you like the video, don't forget to like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. I'm at 27,000 now, so I'm hoping that by next week we should be thinking of something to do for the 30,000 subscriber video mark. So, as always, thanks again, and have a good rest of the week. And tune in for tomorrow's video where we're going to a pool party, so should be pretty cool. Alright guys, peace.